My name's David Lorimer, and I come from Scotland, and I have been involved in a very exciting new project with young people called Learning for Life, which is about enabling these young people to reflect on important human qualities and values and incorporate those into their lives. The way the poster exercise works is that we give each student a poster template, and on the template we have 4 different sections initially, and in these 4 sections we have different qualities and values, and we ask them to choose which is the most important for them in the 4 sections. And the 4 sections are personal development, principles for successful living, turning things around, and personal relationships. And so the sort of qualities that we're looking at are qualities like enthusiasm, perseverance, trust, forgiveness, kindness, positive outlook, learning from your mistakes, creating solutions to problems, and so on. And what the young people find most important is trust. That's the quality that they value most highly. We also have a section for them to record their favorite quotations and favorite stories, and all of this is on the website. So each of the qualities I mentioned is a page on the website with areas that can be clicked open and reflected on by the person, by the student. So they could click on enthusiasm, for instance. There is a quotation saying, "Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm." And this was said by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And most of them would never have heard of Ralph Waldo Emerson, and so they click on that and they find out who he was. And then they have to write about an inspirational figure. And quite often the figure is somebody who is on the site and who is quoted on the site. And then finally, they draw the whole thing together with a personal reflection about what they think is important in life. We had 2,700 people doing it in the first year, 10,000 last year, and we've got 19,000 posters have been sent out to over 115 schools this year.
So what's the age of the student, or what is your target?
Most of the students are early secondary schools, so the first 3 years of secondary school. And so it corresponds to years 8 to 10 in most of the systems that we're working in, because we're also working in Wales, started to work in Ireland, and in London and Birmingham.
How about the younger children? Do you have any plans to introduce something similar for them?
Yes, we do. We're going to be working on a simplified version of the poster. We have tried it in final year of primary school, P7, and once in P6. And so with some help, it's still possible to get some interesting results from the exercise, because most of the students have never had this opportunity to reflect on what's important before. And the important thing is that they are choosing these things for themselves. They're not being told this is what you should put down, or told this is the quote that you should select, or this is the story you should take, or this is the inspirational figure that you should choose. And they themselves, by going through the exercise, it elicits their inspiration and their insight. And so we have some amazing insights coming out of it, and also a lot of unsolicited feedback from the students saying this has completely changed the way I look at the world.
So they have a particular experience when they engaged in this process, and that experience seemed to enrich somehow their life.
Absolutely does, and that it's a very simple exercise but a very powerful one. But because it asks the students questions that they haven't asked before. And they find it very difficult to choose between love and joy and wisdom, and because there is all of these qualities are important. And if they actually have to rank them from 1 to 3, there are 10 in each, then it's really quite a demanding exercise to decide why something is more important than something else. So why enthusiasm might be more important than perseverance, although one of the students said that she had been prompted to reflect on the relationship between enthusiasm and perseverance by saying if the more enthusiastic you are, the more persevering you will be, and then the perseverance will keep up your enthusiasm.
You remember that discussion when the politicians were criticizing church, why they don't teach people morality, while on the other side, church was criticizing politicians, why they don't set up a better example, and I think they still haven't agreed who should do the job.
I don't think it's any responsibility of any particular part of society. I think parents have a role to play, schools have a role to play, role models have a role to play, and the role models for young people are hugely important. Albert Schweitzer said there were only 3 ways of changing the world. First was by example, the second was by example, and the third, you guessed it, was by example. And so what I've found is that young people really admire people who stand up for what they believe in, have the courage of their convictions, and do something for other people that really makes a difference. So the inspirational figures, Terry Fox would be an example. I'd never heard of Terry Fox before reading about him on one of my students' posters. And he was a person who had cancer and decided he was going to run across Canada in order to raise money for other cancer sufferers. He didn't make it all the way across Canada. He died while he was doing this. But he raised a great deal of money, and he inspired so many people that there are now annual Terry Fox runs, to commemorate his effort. And there's an inspirational figure. The flower has to start from a bud, and it has to open. And you don't expect a fruit to come straight from the bud. And so if we can plant a seed, or just enable the students to reflect more deeply about their life being a gift, and what can they do with this gift of life, then I think it'll have achieved something. And we think that the evidence that we have so far is that this is one of the outcomes. And this is why I coined this phrase from inspiration to aspiration, because by being inspired, you raise your aspirations.
What is your impression of modern education? Is it too much about quantity and not enough about quality, if I can use these 2 words?
Well, I think a lot of it's target-driven. And Sir Tom Farmer said very nicely in Edinburgh this week that we value targets a great deal, but perhaps we should be targeting values, which is a nice way of putting it. I mean, I think I've found that quite a lot of thought has been going into developing the curriculum in all the countries. In England, you have an initiative called Every Child Matters, and you have some work going on in social, emotional, affective learning. So they're beginning to catch up with that. In Scotland, there is a curriculum for excellence, which is based on the principles of the Scottish Mace: wisdom, compassion, justice, integrity. And those are all factors that appear directly or indirectly in the poster exercise. And what they're trying to do in Scotland is to grow the capacities of young people. They specify 4 capacities, and so I think that's very encouraging. That they're trying to grow the individuals as well as growing contributors to the economy.
So, how do you see the future of this project?
Well, I see it. We're growing it in England at the moment. It's just taking off in Wales. It's already taken off in Scotland. We are hoping to link it in with the values of Olympics in terms of the aspirations of young people in sport and the qualities required to be successful and enjoy doing sport. And also we're going to hopefully expand it into other countries as well, because we're developing an online version whereby you'll be able to fill the poster in online and then send it in as an email file. And then we can start developing exchanges and communication between schools in different countries, pupils from different countries. And so it can then begin to be a contribution towards international understanding, cross-cultural tolerance and cooperation. So I see very considerable potential for this, and also adapting it to the other cultures. So, for instance, if we had a chance, which we may do, to do something in North Africa, in the next year or so. And then from an Islamic culture, we can still see very good examples of perseverance and enthusiasm and generosity and gratitude. And I believe that if we can develop and enhance our human qualities, then that's a great thing. And there's a wonderful quotation from Albert Schweitzer when he says the task of the human being is to become more finely and deeply human.